What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. As y'all know, it's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to you guys as often as possible, with as many interviews as possible, with as many icons of the game as possible. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. And we appreciate your guys' support as always. Now, today, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by the mighty, mighty, mighty DJ Hurricane. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? What's happening, man? I'm here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming through. Hurricane has been a pivotal, significant icon in the game since the game was the game. So we're really glad that you came through. And on the outside looking in, I wanted you to explain early on, because I got familiar with you through Hollis Crew, through Davy's Ride, through Run-DMC, through all these different things. And I wanted you to explain, since you were there since so early in the game. Everybody looks at Run-DMC, and obviously that's a significant, huge thing. But how did around like the Hollis Crew, to people like yourselves, like the different roles that you guys ended up having that set you guys up to have these huge careers that people may not really understand or appreciate? Was that all coming through Run-DMC and Jay? Was that coming through Russell Simmons? How was that getting set up?
Well, for myself personally, as far as my setup goes, musically, it started in my house with my family of 6. I was the youngest in the family. Still am the youngest in the family, not was, but the youngest in the family. And, I always had a DJ equipment in my house because my oldest sister used to always buy these records, and she'd be DJing in the living room, which is where we all hung out and slept at. And I used to watch a lot. So I got curious of how to learn how to do it. But I was so young, they wouldn't let me touch the turntable. So shortly after that, I had a cousin that would come around, and he had a cassette tape of the Furious 4, before there was the Furious 5. And I started listening to the cassette tape, and I'm listening to these guys rap, and they're rapping over like some break, beats that I've never heard my sister really play, because she was mixing like disco stuff and house and stuff like that. So I was really curious, and I was listening to them rap. Then I just started writing down everything they were saying, and I was understanding that they were rhyming off every N word, the N word at the end. So I learned how to do that, and I started writing my own raps. And I dated on my rap book. I used to date my rhymes, like 10, 14, 78, 10, I still have that book too. That's the crazy thing about it. Many times I moved since I was a kid, I actually still have that book with the dated rhymes on it. And, then I started going around Queens trying to find somebody that knew how to scratch, like Flash was doing on the cassette tape. And I ran into Davey D. He was DJing at a center in Hollis, 182 Park. He was DJing, cutting those scratches up, and he didn't have any MCs at the time, rhyming over those beats. So I met his brother, who was around our age, because Dave was a lot older than us back, now, but he was older than us back then as well. So he was older than us, so I didn't have any contact with him. So I met his brother, Tommy T, who used to do a beatbox with his mouth. And me and my friend Cool T, another friend named Butterfly, we started rapping over his stuff. And he was like, yo, y'all dope. Y'all should come meet my brother. We was like, who your brother? He was like, Davy D. So we walked from the park down to Davy's house, went into the basement, and there was a marriage right there because everything fit perfectly. So this was before Sugar Hill Rapper's Delight came out. This was before Run-DMC was Run-DMC. This was before a lot of stuff that happened along the way. So, we got with Davey, and Davey was very talented. Davey could play keys, he could play guitar, he could play bass. And when the first drum machine came out, Davey got the DMX and he started making beats. And we actually made like 2 records prior to Rapper's Delight. I still have one of the songs that we never released. We didn't release it, we didn't have the connections to release it. We was just recording at that time. So, so shortly after that, shortly after that, before I skipped to Run-DMC, we started doing a lot of shows in the parks and in the clubs. And Russell used to bring Curtis Blow around all the time. So when Curtis came around, he started getting on flyers with, Solo Sounds, which is the name of our crew. And, Curtis would see Dave scratch and he'd see us rap, and he really enjoyed watching us perform. So Run at that time was DJ Run, son of Curtis Blow. He used to be on the flyers. Like they'll have us, Solo Sounds, Hurricane, Davy D, Grandmaster Fast, Curtis Blow, and at the bottom of the flyer, you'll see son of Curtis Blow, DJ Run. And Run was DJing for Curtis at the time. And Run had injured his arm and he couldn't DJ for Curtis. And then Curtis came and got Davey to DJ for him to go on tour. And when that happened, and during that break, Run formed Run-DMC, called DMC, and told D to come to the studio, and they did a song together, Circumcision. It's like that. So that's where that happened. And at that time, doing all those transitions, I'm still writing and DJing in parks and in block parties, because I knew how to DJ and rap at the same, I knew how to do both. So depending on what kind of party it was, if it was a DJ, I just grab the mic and start rapping. If it wasn't a DJ, I may just grab the turntables and start scratching. So that was how I pretty much went down prior to Suck MC. So that's the beginning.
So creatively, even early on, what did you get out of scratch or DJing, and then what did you get out of rapping that were similar or different?
I would say out of rapping, what I enjoyed the most was the pen, being able to rap something, write something, and really put your mind into it and try to picture what you're writing. And I really enjoyed trying to find words to say, even if I didn't know what the word meant. But if it rhymed with the last word I said, I would put it in, but I would look up the word to find a definition of it to make sure it's made some kind of sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I enjoyed about the rapping part. The DJ part, what I enjoy about that is being able to, back then you had to know how to keep the beat going so that the rapper can rap over the beat. So you would have to keep it going and make sure it's steady so you don't mess up. Because if you mess up, you mess the MC up. So it was so much in detail with keeping that needle and keeping that break beat going before that ugly part comes on, and then the MC will mess up. So what I enjoyed about that is you have to be really tight knit with the show. Yeah.
Okay. Because given I was always intrigued later, because like I said, Davy's Ride is where I really started following you and understanding who you were on a bigger scale. But I was always intrigued that on that album, given the rest of your career, that was more of you rapping than DJing, which is, I'd say a lot of what you got super known for later. So I was just always curious about the two paths that you were on at the same time.
Right. Yeah, it was always a plan of mine to do a solo rap record and do my own scratches on it as well. I just got detoured along the way with helping others. Like Davey did his album. He needed me to come in and write and rap. So I did that instead of doing my own album. Then the Beastie Boys come out with their stuff and they needed a DJ. So let me help these guys out. So, I got kind of stirred away from what I originally planned to do from the beginning.
Until the Hurrah much later. But we'll get to that in a second if you don't mind, because I wanted to ask you about Davy's Ride, because I bought the album when it came out and I was very excited. And at that time, Def Jam was enjoying this huge success and was literally about the super takeoff. So with the marketing and promotion of Davy's Ride, I liked it, but what did you guys see? Because it was also a largely instrumental album, or a lot of it was instrumental. So how do you think that affected how it was perceived, how it was received, how it got out there?
I think that Davy's Ride album was probably 2 years ahead of its time, because Davey, you gotta remember, Davey was scratching and he was singing, and at that time, no one was doing that. He was singing "Ooh Girl," and and what was the other one?
Feel for You was on there.
Feel for You, right? Feel for You, and the old girl, and he's scratching and he's singing. You know, it was new for everybody, so they was kind of like stunned and looking. You know, when they bought the album, they didn't know what to expect, and then you get that. So you had to be a real music head to understand where he was coming from. He was just a guy that just didn't understand music, then it'd be confusing to you. But you know, when you listen to cuts on an album like Keep Your Distance, that is solo sounds in the park. Like if you ever wanted to know what solo sound like in a park, that was the name of our crew. It was 100% Keep Your Distance, because that break beat, Davey used to spin it in the park, and we would get on the mic and rap over that beat, and he'd be like, "Keep your distance," and I'd be like, "Keep your distance, y'all gotta back up." You know what I mean? So that song is definitely solo sounds 100%.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the Live on Hollis Day also had that live park feel to it, and
Right.
I was always intrigued because, and I talked to Easy AD from Cold Crush about this, but I was always curious, and this is a good example of it, from talking, being around, and knowing all the artists from this era. Why do you think more artists didn't make their routines, or why didn't Treacherous 3 put out their routines on record? Why didn't Cold Crush? Why didn't, you know, Funky
Right.
Four more? Why didn't they do that like you guys did on Davy's Ride? Because I think it worked really well, but nobody really did it.
Yeah, I didn't understand, particularly the guys in the Bronx, that was Funky Four and Treacherous Three and all those guys. I didn't understand even the Furious Five, Furious Four. I didn't understand like why didn't they take that park stuff and bring it to the wax? Because the park stuff was only on cassette. He was only getting that in the NYC. It wasn't all around the world like that. So they should have took the park stuff and put it on the wax and spread it like that. You know, the park stuff was a record too, just like we did Live on Hollis Day. That was straight up sound like we in the park. You know, 1 2 1 2. Hey, they practicing. What I say? Oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking. Then the beat drops. You know what I mean? Come on. They was doing that as well. So I never understood why they switched it up like that. I don't know if it was somebody. It had to have been someone telling them that, you know, you need to make a record and not the stuff you do in the park. That's what I would think, you know. But for me, I wanted to take it straight to the park, and because it was hip hop, it's hip hop, you know what I mean? So that's why we made Live on Hollis Day like that. That's why we made um, One for the Trouble, and all those songs straight up park jams.
Yeah, and on Keep Your Distance, the other thing, I always find it amusing in some ways when people don't understand or appreciate the the connections that rap has with since it incorporates all the different music. Like you got rock elements on there, reggae, all these different things. So why do you think there was at times a disconnect in the rap world, given that rock was used so much that people then were like, oh, we don't like rock, we like rap, when rap was using so much rock in the foundational years?
I think the disconnect in the rock world is they really just didn't give it a chance. You know, I think that they didn't really lend the ear to the craft of it, the art of it. I think they just automatically just thought that, you know, it wasn't going to be around for a long time. It was just a fad, and then it'd be gone. Had they just listened to it and understood how we would take something that they made, example, Aerosmith, Walk This Way. You know, we didn't even like the whole record. We only liked that break beat that went on for 10 seconds, however long it was, 15 seconds. And we would take what they did and we would actually rap it over that. I don't understand how they didn't see that as being genius, you know, because we weren't, the majority of us back then were not musicians. We were not drummers, keyboard players. There was some, but the rappers themselves and most of the DJs were not. So we made those records, you know, work for us. So I don't understand the disconnect with how rock didn't connect with us like that. They should have from the jump.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.